Okay. Well, let's see. I can't remember what did I say? Oh, my name, Alex Seropian, founder and CEO of Wide Load Games. And yes, I make video games for a living.
How did you fall into that, making video games?
Fall into it? Well, I grew up playing video games. When I was a kid, I had an Atari 2600. And it's kind of what I did when I got home from school. Me and my brother would sit down, play Atari. And I got into it. And at some point, my dad got us a personal computer, and I started teaching myself how to program. And the first thing anybody does when they learn to program is to try and make games. I guess it's like, I'm not going to make that analogy. But in any case, yeah, I started teaching myself how to program and really was curious how games worked and wanted to make some games. So I started writing some, little games and stuff. And when I was in college, like I had always when I was a kid and thought about what I might do when I got a chance to do things. Kind of knew I wanted to start a business. I didn't really know what it would be, but just the idea of like making stuff and making something that might be cool enough that somebody else might want was very, motivating in some way, primal for me. So yeah, when I was in college, I started writing a video game with the idea that maybe I could sell it, and then that's what I did. Yeah, that's how I fell into making video games. Programming is one of those things that's like, I'm not the best programmer in the world. I've been very fortunate to find some of the best programmers in the world to work with, but programming is this crazy drug for people that program. It's this combination of technical and artistry, I guess, where it's problem solving and there's like a million ways to do anything, that you're trying to do. And there's clever ways to do it. There's these just brute force ways to do it. At the end, you create something, without ever having to touch like a physical piece of anything, You touch a keyboard, but it's not like you nail two pieces of wood together. You have some thought, and you translate that thought with a keyboard into a computer, and something magical happens. That's the passion, right? Yeah. I don't program anymore, but it's still there, that sort of creative, wanting to make stuff. So yeah, Wide Load Games started as an idea to make games a little differently. The hits make money, but the statistics are, the odds are against you, So it really started with a business model of, hey, okay, let's do this differently. We're gonna just get like the top creative guys together. We're gonna sit around and like brainstorm like the craziest shit we can think of, and then we'll go out, get something funded, and then we'll put a team together, like guys of film do, We'll get contractors, independent talent, other developers, put the stuff together, and at the end, it's still just this crazy group of guys, and we'll do it again. And that's worked for us pretty well. So that's sort of the dry, process sort of side of what we're doing. Though even in something dry like that, I think it takes a certain amount of creativity to be able to look at what's broken and figure out some way to do something different. Which I think that old way of doing it is pretty broken. And on the creative side, we're trying to, if you looked at the kind of games that video games people have been playing for a long time, a lot of them boil down to this idea that, you want to get a teenage boy to pick up this controller, so you're going to let them play this buff strapping man who's going to go out and kill things. And that's fun. I'm getting older, I got kids. I kind of want to do other stuff, at least with my entertainment. And I know there's a lot of other people like me. Like I think I'm on that the first wave of people that grew up with video games who now have kids of their own who are going to, get into video games. So what I want to do creatively is just broaden that creative spectrum for video games. Like when we started, I looked at the top grossing movies, and you've got this solid category of action films, you know, like Terminator and all the Aliens and all these great action movies that are really successful. And then you've got this huge block of these comedy films, like, you know, Ghostbusters and, you know, Mel Brooks movies and, you know, all this the stuff that I grew up laughing with. And nobody has tried doing that in video games, you know. And yeah, it's harder to make a sort of a interactive mechanic out of something that's funny than it is to make an interactive mechanic out of a gun, but that's the challenge, right? So
How do you play?
Curiosity? Yeah, that's a great word, curiosity. Yeah, so for me, a lot of the things that I like to think about are like problem solving, you know, or looking at responding to some kind of challenge. Most often a challenge that I've kind of asked myself, you know, and curiosity definitely plays I think a big role in looking at something and seeing, like, I like to look at things that I think either might be hard to do, or somebody is, like, the conventional way of doing things is one way, and how can you do it differently, you know, or what's broken about this, or I tried this and it didn't work, why was that, or this is a clever idea, if somebody could do X, that would be awesome, but X seems really hard to do, and then to sit down and to poke at it, to try to figure out how to do that. Like, you know, making a video game that's funny. It's not something that people really have spent a lot of time trying to do. I mean, there are some games that have a sense of humor, right? But there's no genre for that. There's no language for somebody who makes games to speak in to make a funny game, you know? So trying to come up with that language, you know, that the process, what are the conventions that you follow when trying to, what are the rules, you know? Like, I love that kind of stuff. And I think that fundamentally is all about curiosity.